Help! I bought at the peak of the market and prices are falling. What are you going to do? Stay tuned to find out exactly on this week's episode of Prime Property. Promise you, it'll be worth it. Good day, Toronto. Welcome to another episode of Prime Property TV. So glad you joined me here today. Now, this is not a very fun video for me to make because there unfortunately is some people, maybe a lot more than I would imagine, in a situation where they bought at the peak of the market and now are freaking out, pandemonium's ensuing, and they're like just losing it, right? I'm going to try to provide you with some of my thoughts if you are caught in this situation to kind of give you a little bit of hand, right? Now, first off, the most important thing for you to do is stay calm because the situation and the scenario you're in already has already happened. You just got to understand what your options are and figure out in the best way to mitigate and minimize your risk. Now, you're probably going to go through what I say the 5 stages of grief are. And at some point, you're going to want to back out of the property that you have gone firm on, especially if you're buying and you got to sell. And if you're wondering if you can do that, the short answer is no. And you want a long form answer of that, I brought on my lawyer, Eric Lee from Garrison Law to talk about it. You can check out the video, it is up here. We talk about that kind of topic at length and what you can and cannot do, right? Now, once you have kind of accepted your situation, which is part of the 5 stages of grief, and you realize that you can't negotiate your way out of it, maybe like the other party, the buyer or the seller is not letting you out of the contract, then get ready to close the property because you're going to have to. Now, the biggest concern in these situations, once you've gotten to that point mentally, is that you want to make sure that the appraisal you're getting is going to be actually on point and passing, right? So if the bank thinks what you bought is worth less than what you bought it for, you're going to be in some hurt. And I went through this in length in the video up here, so you can check that out. Now, once you've checked out both of these videos, you kind of understand where I'm coming from personally, right? In terms of providing you some kind of color onto how to navigate your situation and how you deal with the fact that you bought at the peak of the market. Now, if you're able to close, this is all going to be like a mental game for you. If you can't close, definitely go talk to a lawyer. However, let's go through each scenario from a mental perspective and how you're going to deal with it. If you're living in the property, here's just a thought for you. It doesn't really matter what you bought the property for because you're the one living in it and enjoying the property. Yeah, weird thought, right? Because as long as you can make the payments on it, you know, your mortgage payments in our kind of economic world where the interest rates are rising, you're fine. If you're concerned about the monthly payment, then maybe you want to consider going fixed for a little bit of peace of mind as long as you're not going to sell the house during that duration of the fixed period. Or the other option is go to a bank that has a variable that the monthly amount doesn't change, but the variable rate does change. So it doesn't affect your family's kind of cash flow position. You don't have to sell the home. And like I personally find that most people who think and talk about real estate way too much, which is like a really big portion of the people in GTA. And, you know, they always think that in a rising market, when their home is going up price, they can't stop obsessing over it because it's great. However, what happens in these situations, unless you're actually selling the home or remortgaging the home, feeling great and your prices going up doesn't really affect you at the end of the day. However, on the flip side of the coin, which is where we are right now, if the market's going down and the prices have come down and you just bought a home recently, it totally sucks because you're like, oh my goodness, I bought for the lowest sale price, or sorry, about the highest sale price, and now prices are coming down. And this is kind of what's going to lead you to like different levels of depression that you bought at the absolute height of the market. However, if you just think about it, you're still the one living in the property. And if you can't live in that property and enjoy what you bought, even though it's good for family, just with the fact that you bought at the height of the market, it's all in your head. This is why I was saying it's a mental thing. And you just need to stop dwelling on the decision you made. You made it, it's fine, just live with it, right? And I'll give you some kind of light at the end of the tunnel as a homeowner, right? Now, back in 2017 in the New York region, a lot of people bought at the absolute height of the market where prices were even underpricing by $300,000, right? So that means they have to fill in the balance of it. But if you survive 3 years in that home, the price value now, or 3 years from when you bought it, is actually higher than what they bought it for because the market has gone up. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen again because no one can predict the future. You can just try to imagine where it's going to go with some data points. But as long as you're in the property, historically, GTA prices have gone up 7% a year in the last 42 years. So just live in there a few years and spend time in the market. And generally, that'll fix everything and all your worries. Then you can feel better about the house you bought and the anguish just really isn't there anymore to kind of bring you through all the hurdles of just hating the house that you live in. Just accept it and move on. And while that may not be what you're looking to hear, those are the thoughts, those are my thoughts, and that's realistically the only option you have. Now, if this is the type of real estate content you enjoy, make sure you help us spread the knowledge by smashing the like button and subscribing to the Prime Property channel, because every week we put out good content like this to you. And I'm trying to pivot my content a little bit because I know a lot of people are stuck in these situations because I've been getting a lot of calls about them. So I just want to put this kind of information out there. Obviously, it's different for every single person, but a lot of people are caught in this situation, so I'm trying to do my best to help you guys out. And if you are looking for help, whether it's buying, selling, or investing in real estate, and you want some good experience on your side to kind of navigate this, you can book a call with me using the link right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Now, let's move on to the investor side. And I've said this countless many times before, whether in a good market or a bad market. If the numbers work, who cares? You're playing the long game anyways, right? Especially in a market where the rents are going up, right? Even though the rates are rising. Now, the key here is making your numbers work. And if they work, you're fine because you can carry the property because the rents are higher than the mortgage and all the carrying costs, right? And if you need to kind of reconfigure your portfolio because the interest rates are a little bit higher, you can do so. You just got to make sure you find the best way to hold on to the real estate asset. Like I was saying in the previous kind of segment for end users, time in the market usually fixes a lot of these things. Now, real estate investing is very similar to playing Monopoly. You got to keep collecting these little green houses and you don't really sell them until you get a red hotel. And that's why it's important to hold on to these properties as much as possible. But you have to make sure the numbers work. And you win Monopoly and you win real estate investing, not by selling on the most homes, but just by holding on to the most homes. Now, if you're a flipper, I'm going to be very, very specific here, a flipper who adds value, then you may want to reconsider refinancing your property when all the renovations are done, because the market conditions are not necessarily conducive to you selling for maximum profit, right? But however, if you are a good flipper that's adding value, you would have known that if you got a good price, there's baked in margin into your deal already. It's just your margins aren't as good from what they could have been previously. And that's what differentiates a good flipper from a bad flipper. Now, if you are a speculating flipper that didn't want to add any value, yeah, good luck. Best thing I can say is maybe pivot your strategy if you can, or sell at a loss and just accept that you made a mistake so that the carrying cost doesn't eat at you financially. Now, most times, I would say losing the battle is much better than losing the war. And what I mean by that is you don't want to sacrifice your financial well-being just because you're stubborn and you want to keep the property and it needs to sell for a certain amount. Just take an L and move on with your life, right? So hopefully this video kind of gives you an idea or maybe a little bit of closure of what's out there, even though it may not be the best news for you to hear, especially coming from me. It's just the news of how you have to deal with it going forward. And a lot of it is going to be a tough situation, and it's going to be a lot of it being a mental thing. But I think at the end of the day, it's going to make you a stronger person and probably make you a better investor if it doesn't kind of scare you from investing, right? And this is why I'm saying, like, experience is actually very important, especially when you're transacting the most expensive piece of real estate in your life. And unfortunately, there's a lot of unexperienced people out there who are transacting, right? And I know I totally sound like a boomer right now. I'm saying this, but I am getting a little bit older and I can see where experience does matter in these situations. So if you want to work with someone who has experience like us and our team, while the gravy train is running at full speed and still want to make money, you can do so by booking a call with me using the link right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya. Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one? Oh, you know what? This one's good too. Ooh, this one's really good. You know what? Just watch them both.